So this is a flow class. We take a few detours in this flow class, and I just want you to take care of yourselves and have fun, and you'll probably want a couple blocks for this. And if you don't have blocks, no worries. You could even use the wall or something when we get to do some of this balancing flow. So we're going to invite a little bit of reflexive core response early in the practice, and to do that we'll start on our back. So come on down, and you can lay how you want to lay. Just kind of adjust until it feels like that just right position for you. If you feel the urge to move a little bit, that would be fine. Maybe you just kind of roll the ankles around, or move the wrists around, or turn your head side to side. But if stillness is what you are craving, enjoy it. Feel into the backside of your pelvis. Just kind of notice the balance between the right and the left sides, and then that middle ground where your sacrum is. And let's start to move there first. Really subtle. Rocking the pelvis under. As your tailbone curls off a little bit, the lower back will get closer to your mat. When you tip your pelvis forward, you'll feel your tailbone reaching towards your mat and your lower back lifting. The hips will stay down for now, and we'll just rock on the bowl of the pelvis. That's exactly how I like to think about this area of the body, kind of like a bowl. And we're tipping the back edge of the bowl behind us in the posterior tuck. And then we're tilting the front lip of the bowl forwards in that anterior tilt. Do a couple more like that. If you haven't already done so, let's go ahead and bend the knees. And we'll just bring one leg up, and it really doesn't matter which leg you start with, but you'll have your knee arranged over your hip so that your thigh bone feels like it's pretty vertical. And then use both hands and press your leg into your hands as your arms push away. Use your own resistance here. You can start pretty low level. And notice if that tried to shift your pelvic position. If it made you tip forward or tip backwards, and see if you can find your balanced neutral position. Notice if the back ribs tried to curl up, and can you keep them integrated into the floor? And then we're going to switch sides, do the same thing, find a little pressure inward from the leg and outward with the arms. Trying to meet yourself with a low level resistance. Feeling your hip flexors fire up perhaps. And the opposite leg is stabilizing back down on your mat. And let's just set the feet back down about as wide as our hips. We'll go bent knees, tuck under with your pelvis, and roll up nice and slow to a conservative bridge. So just getting in touch with our hip extensors, our glutes, the hamstrings, especially those high hamstrings. Feel your feet and imprint into your foot tripod, but try to relax off your toes. They don't have to lift, but just let them be. Maybe you can see your own footprint in your mind's eye. From the top of your spine, travel back down to the floor. And then we'll bring both legs up so that the thigh bones are vertical and our shin bones are horizontal, about 90 degrees of flexion in both the hip joint and the knee joint. So it feels a little bit like reverse tabletop. Right hand to the front of the right leg, left hand to the front of the left leg, and now both legs are going to try to kick inward towards the hands as the hands push away. Finding that resistance. Did your back position change? Did your ribs shift? Can you keep those same points of contact on the floor so that it feels neutral instead of a back bend? Keep kicking and pushing with the left. Reach your right arm behind you overhead and kick your right leg forward any amount. You could keep it bent. Let's just do a few times in and out with the right arm and the right leg. They don't have to touch again. They can just kind of move randomly. But do keep that pressure on with the left side. Now let's switch sides. We'll do the same thing. We're going to be mobilizing the left and stabilizing with the right. If your low back feels like it's trying to creep up off of your mat, do what you need to do to adjust for that, and also try to keep your back ribs connected to the floor. Reset your feet to the ground and find one more low bridge. If you wanted something else here in terms of a shoulder position or a shoulder effort, you could play around with that as well. And then you're going to come up onto the elbows here. So just keep your knees bent, your feet on the ground. Come up onto your elbows. Kind of like a reclining position here. And then you're going to press down through your feet and try to lift your hips just a little bit off the ground. And also kind of unshrug the shoulders. Push up away from the ground with your back rib cage. So it's still kind of a bridge, but on the forearms. And then lower down. Press your palms to the earth. And it's almost going to be like, it's going to feel a little bit like a tricep push-up. You're going to try to keep your palms flat and push your arms to straight. And we're going to do that a few times. So you might have to make some adjustments in terms of where your hands land. Bring your forearms back down and press them up. Notice if you can get both arms to do the exact same thing at the exact same time. Good luck with that, because it's really hard to do. But at least if we're aware of it. So a little bit of a push up here. We're going to do like 2 to 3 more. See if you can get more movement in the wrists and the shoulders and the elbows and a little less movement around the rib cage. One final one. And then once you get up to that open elbow position, straighten your arms and press your hips up one more time. This time it's more like a reverse tabletop. Still driving through your feet, still finding a connection to your tush. And then we're going to try to take away one foot, whether that's just to barely lift it or to come up onto the tiptoes and lift your heel. Doesn't matter which one, but notice how the other side now has to really work to keep your pelvis level. And let's switch sides. We're working to maintain level to the horizon in the shoulders and the pelvis as we take away that limb. And then you can set that down and sit on your tush. A simple cross-leg position is fine. You could also just keep your legs out in front of you. And we'll take some side bends. Rooting down through that left side, taking your right arm towards the floor, and then getting a little longer on the left side. Reach both arms forward as you come through the center and try to hollow out through the front core as you round your back, as if you were trying to curl your spine over the ball, like a big beach ball right out in front of you. And then bring your trunk back upright to a vertical and take that side bend the other way. Push with the left shoulder rather, and then reach with the right shoulder. spine flexion to the center. Hollow it out, hold that big giant ball, and then work your arms behind you. Fingertips could touch, palms could lay flat. Roll your shoulders together behind you and lift your sternum. If it feels okay, you can also extend your neck and take your gaze either upward or backwards, but try to really focus more on the upper back curling. Beautiful. Okay, so we're going to play with the transition. That's going to help bring a little bit more stability to the trunk again. So you're going to find kind of like that tabletop setup. So just like we were in a tabletop position, lift your bum. It doesn't have to be very high, just lift it a little bit. Lift the left hand and the right leg and try to bring elbow to knee. And then sit back down. Reset all 4 points. Find your glutes, raise your hips a little bit. Right elbow or right hand to the left knee. Set it down. This time, we're going to lift the hips, and you're going to lift the right leg and the left hand, and they're going to try to turn all the way around to a tabletop. And set your knees down. And you might be facing the wrong direction. It's fine because we're going to go back the way we went in. So lift your knees off the ground. Pivot your heels over to the right. Your toes are going to turn to the left. Raise your left hand off the ground. Pull your right leg underneath you and set your tush down. And then reset yourself to kind of square on your mat like you were before. Same base position. Kind of a crab pose. Lift your seat. Now your left leg is going to lift. Your right arm's going to lift. You're going to try to pull that left leg underneath you and spin yourself all the way around to a tabletop. Lift your knees and tabletop, so really press into your toes. You're going to pick up the left leg and the right hand and pull yourself back around and resituate. Reverse tabletop one more time. Try to get your hips a little bit higher and walk your legs apart just a little bit more. Really push with the left shoulder, push with the seat, take away the right hand. And then reset, take away the left hand. Try to keep everything else the same. Nice job. Okay, so your next task, your next mission, should you choose to accept it, is to do whatever you need to do to get up to standing with minimal help from the hands. So if you could do it without using your hands, you're going to try that, and it doesn't really matter how it looks. Just stand on up. Step towards the front of your mat. Mountain pose, find your breath. Try to fill up your container all the way around with the same equal pressure. So it's not just a ballooning of the belly. We've got that side body expansion and into the back body as well. We're going to take your feet pretty close together here. Bend your knees. Take your hands to the tops of your thighs and let your knees swirl around the ankles and toes. Go the other direction. Rise back to your mountain pose, and maybe you want your feet a little separated again. Take your arms overhead, nice long inhale there. As you exhale, let your pelvis tip forward and fold over your legs. Here we can just dangle. Take it easy, maybe you want to pedal things out. Soften the bend in the knees even more generously. Free up any holding from around the neck. And then let's go tabletop. We'll warm up the spine a little bit more. We already did our bridges, but here in tabletop, we'll work through cat and cow, segmentally moving the spine like a wave. Tailbone starts to lift first. Tip pelvis forward. Feel that low back extend, middle back, upper back. Finally, the head can look up. Now drop the tail. Tuck under with the pelvis first. And then through the spine, we travel into flexion until the head moves last. At least one more, maybe a couple. And you're just allowing your body to breathe and move in a natural way. Don't worry about synchronizing unless that's something that you really enjoy doing. Full breaths, mostly focusing on a slower exhale phase, on letting the inhale just be received. This will be our last one. Let's take a break off the wrists for a moment. You can sit back on your yoga block or just onto your heels. Find some soft rotations in the wrists. And then we'll come up to the shins. Find some support from your backside again. Take your arms out in front of you, a little wider than your shoulders, palms facing open to the ceiling. Continue to raise your arms as you let your rib cage set down. So this is all about the shoulders here. Continue to work so it feels like your pinkies are spiraling towards each other. When you can't go any higher with your arms, start to turn your arms inward as you go back behind you, like you're trying to turn your biceps towards your rib cage. And then finish off that half circle by setting your arms beside your hips. Your palms are facing outward and you're still turning that upper arm in. Reach back. After you maximize the lift from your shoulder, rotate outward with your arm bones. Circle, sweeping your arms back overhead, palms facing behind you. Let's do 2 more like that. This is basically a dual arm shoulder car. Instead of moving one shoulder, we're tackling both at one time. Inward rotation, extension, outward rotation, flexion. Last one. Your shoulders really enjoy this rotational movement before they get loaded in something like downward dog. So let's head there next. Set your width with your wrists how you like it for your down dog. Tuck your toes under and ride your hips up and back. Nice stretch through the spine. Feel free to fidget and pedal and wiggle in that down dog. And then in the down dog, let's make sure the feet are maybe a little wider than the hips and the hands are slightly narrower than normal. Maybe just like an inch or so. And then you're gonna lift up onto the right fingertips. Keep pushing with your left arm. Lift your left leg up slightly off the ground. It doesn't have to go up real high. And then can you take away the right hand for just a second or two and find that balance on 2 points? And switch sides. First, just tent your left palm, really push from the right shoulder. Float your right leg just a wee bit, and then also if you want to take away the left hand. Resetting the down dog. Walk your feet up to your hands. Come up halfway as you inhale. Try to get your back pretty long and strong like tabletop. And then fold on your exhale. Let's do 2 more. Inhale halfway up. Exhale, find that forward fold. Last one. This time we'll come all the way up. Push the floor away, find your buns. Get your spine nice and long. Reach through your shoulders. Take another inhale with arms overhead. And then you can either take the arms out wide for your fold or pull them through the center of your chest as you fold. Come up halfway as you inhale. Exhale, fold, plant your palms. Let's go plank. In the plank, we're gathering a sense of dragging the hands backwards to the toes and the toes trying to scrub forwards towards the hands. Try to turn your biceps to the front of your mat. Keep that pulling strength and pull your plank to the floor in one piece. Untuck toes, shoulders down and back. Little lift of your chest, just a little help from your arms to begin. And then let's relax all the way to the floor. Maybe the nose or the forehead taps. And then a second cobra or an upward dog with thighs up and the hips up. Strong on your back side. Think of that as your back core contracting. Downward dog, hips go up, flip the toes. And we're breathing. Take a trip forward back to the top of your mat. You can step many times or one big step or a little hop. Halfway lift, inhale. Strong connection to your backside strength. Forward fold, exhale. Smooth and slow breaths. Try to stand up on that inhale. Exhale, hands can come to the heart just for a moment. Let's reset, arms by your sides. As you take your arms overhead, again, we're thinking about turning the palms backwards. And then hands to heart or arms wide as you exhale. Fold over. Halfway up, inhale. Forward fold, exhale, we got a plank. In our plank, we're finding the rotation of the arms and the shoulders and the pulling from the lats as we bend our elbows and come to the floor. Find a baby cobra or an up dog right away, your choice. Downward facing dog. Find that high pike of the hips. Let's do one more sun salutation your way. Coming up to the front. Long and strong, halfway lift. You can almost think of that a little bit like a back bend in the upper back. Rise and reach. Mountain pose, just real briefly to find your neutral. And then we extend overhead, fold in half-ish. Another half lift, make your body feel like an L. And then one more vinyasa the way you like it, focusing on a really controlled eccentric push-up, halfway or all the way down. A spine strengthening pose to balance it all out. And then once again, the down dog. And then you'll probably want your yoga blocks nearby. We're gonna start down on the shins. Shoulders over the hips, more or less. And let's just notice how the pelvis can help us here. So if we get into tipping it too far forward and the body comes into a hinge, we're gonna have a hard time stepping this right leg forward. So we'll think instead about tucking under a little bit and almost like we're gonna lean back slightly, teeter a little towards the left, and then hover your right leg. If you can pull it out in front of you and hover it for a moment, that would be cool. It's gonna be wobbly. And set your right foot down. Left knee under the hip, take a tall reach with your shoulders. As you exhale, hinge your body forward and take your arms behind you. Tuck your back toes, push the floor away and stand up on your right leg. Your left leg's gonna come out in front. Reach your left leg back, tip your body forward, step down with your left foot, left knee comes down. Arms reach overhead again. Hands to the floor, right leg is gonna go upward and backward into a down dog splits. Step right foot forward. High crescent lunge or a warrior one if you prefer that back heel to be all the way down, foot on a diagonal. Inhale here. Exhale, body leans forward, arms fly back. Inhale, rise on one leg, left leg reaches forward and up, arms can go overhead. Take an extra breath here. And then you're gonna start to teeter forward again as your left leg goes back. Touch the toes way back. Hands to the floor. Maybe you wanna flow here. It's also fine just to step back to down dog. Bring yourself back to your shins and come up to that tall kneeling position. Find your backside strength, the back core that includes the glute family. Lean your body slightly to the right so that you could get that left leg off the ground. It doesn't have to be elegant. We're just teaching this right hip to help us stabilize. And then set your foot down. Reach your arms up. Get long from right hip to fingertips. One more inhale. And then tip forward, take your arms behind you. Tuck your back toes under, push the floor away and stand all the way up. Long and strong, right leg lifts. Start to sweep that right leg back. Tap your toes down first, then really light. Lower the knee. Arms are up, breathe in. Hands to the floor. Left leg up and back, down dog splits. Step forward. High crescent lunge or a warrior one, your choice. Legs underneath you first, finding that isometric squeezing towards each other. When you're ready to exhale, you're going to go forward with the body and back with the arms. Root down to rise up, stand up, reach the arms, right leg reaches through. And then you're going back the way you went in. Lunging, and then hands down. Find your flow or a simple step back. We're going to try that again with just a few changes. Start back down on the shins. Bring the trunk upright. Little scoop under with the pelvis. We're going to find and gather strength in the left hip. Lean a little to the left. Try to balance on that left side as you pull your right leg through. Maybe a moment or two more in that hover. Your arms are just kind of along for the ride to help you balance. And then set your right foot down. Take your arms overhead. Body forward, arms back. Nice and straight with those arms. Tuck your back toes. Push down to rise up. Left leg is going to come out in front. And then we're just going to cactus the arms. Keep your left knee about ahead of your hip. Draw your right thigh bone back in space and find your glutes. Now roll the chest open to the left. So it's kind of like you're bringing your right chest across to turn towards that left knee. Unravel your twist. Bend into your right knee a little bit. And then you're just going to step back to crescent lunge. Or a warrior one. That could work too. On your exhale breath, you can have your flow or just a step back. Come down to the shins. I'm going to take the weight mostly into that right hip and shin, pressing down through your foot. Trying to elevate that left leg just a little bit, pulling it through, bouncing, allowing your core and your arms to reflexively respond to this demand. And then set your foot down. Tuck your back toes as you reach your arms overhead. Get long through your sides. Body forward, arms back. Push the floor away. Stand up. The right leg comes out in front. Once you get vertical with the shoulders and the hips, cactus your arms. Now you're going to spiral your chest open towards the right now. Try not to move your shoulders too much. Just the core is twisting. Reverse out of your twist. Bend your left knee a little bit. Step back to a crescent or warrior one. Now we can flow it or step back. Downward dog is our meetup spot. Once again, we're going to take the feet just a little wider. The hands just a little narrower. Bring your right palm off the ground and keep your fingertips touching. Now this time you're going to try to take your left leg out to the side, straight out to the side. And your right arm maybe comes straight out to the side. Downward dog, balancing on 2 points with abduction. And then reset. Try it the other way. Really push with the left foot and the right hand and shoulder. Right leg sweeps to the right, Left arm sweeps to the left. Great job. Reset down dog, and then come down to your knees again. Okay, so we're going to think of a kneeling side plank here. So you're going to keep your knee to the ground, this right knee, but turn your legs so your toes are off towards the back of your mat. And then your right hand's going to come down about in line with your left knee. Left foot is touching the floor. So this is going to be a lot for the side core in terms of the demand, but we're going to allow it to respond reflexively. So try not to like squeeze or grip or suck your stomach in. Just kind of see what happens there. Notice what you're feeling as we ask the body to do these next tasks. First, lift your left leg as high as it'll go. And then lower that leg, just barely tap it. Reach your top arm forward. Reach your left arm vertical. Float your left leg off the ground. One more time. Tap the left foot down. Reach the top arm overhead. Okay, so now you're going to pause and reach the left arm high. Push your left foot into the ground. Bend your right elbow and push, and try to push yourself up to an upright position. We're going to try that twice more. Teeter over to the right. Your wrist can come ahead of your shoulder. Bend your elbow and push yourself back up to a vertical position. So you got a little shoulder stuff happening and a little side core stuff. One more time. Bend. Maybe that forearm comes down. Push the floor away. You're opening up to the long side of your mat for a side bend over that left leg. Right arm can reach. And then as you come up to vertical, we're going to go hands behind the head. And if you feel like you need something under your right knee, you can do that now. Find your glutes. Try to contain that backside. So we're opening up here at the front of the right hip. Side bend to your right. You're not going to come all the way to that side plank again. You're just going to try to find your tipping point. This is something we've done in the past, so have fun with this. We've never done it with the hands behind the head. If hands behind the head is too intense, we take the arms to the T. You're going to try to lean enough to the right that you could lift that left leg, just for like a split second or two. Remember that right hand can come down. Can you find your balance, even if you have to bob in and out of it? Oh, that's good. Yes, fun. Okay, reset tabletop, but let's take the right leg up and back in like a single leg plank instead of a single leg down dog. First, find the tabletop, then you're tucking the back toes, lifting the left knee, right leg's extended, hips high, down dog splits, breathe in. Step forward. Warrior B. So we got to turn that back foot. And then as you come up to that lunging position, the front of the pelvis and the front of the ribs, or the front of the chest rather, is open to the long side of your mat. Okay, this might be new for some of you. We're going to shorten the stance. So typically in the Warrior 2, it's the front leg that's bending and the back leg is always straight. Today, we're going to bend the back leg a little bit, let the hips move back slightly, the arms can stay out here, and then straighten the leg. Bend into the back leg, the right leg still staying straight, and then straighten the back. 2 more times, bending into the back leg, straightening. Now this is going to take you into a half moon and then right back to where you were. So it's a dynamic balance. We're not trying to nail any poses here. We're just playing. See if you can keep the right foot where it was. Toes facing the short edge of your mat. Right leg bone externally rotating. This isn't really about getting super deep into this left knee bending. We're just kind of playing with that side core responsiveness. Couple more. Left leg is kind of pushing, that's your accelerator. Right leg is grounding. Last one. Let's find a half moon. Here you could use your yoga block, or you can just find the float. Sometimes I like to bend my bottom arm elbow and take fingertips to the sternum. Left arm could also hide behind for a little half wrap. You could flex your back foot or you could point your toes, doesn't matter too much. Let's roll around that right hip and come into a level pelvis and fold over the right leg for standing splits. Hands to the floor, hands to the blocks, or you could even hold your ankle or shin for a little extra balance challenge. Step back with your left foot into a long runner's lunge. Now the transition to a left side arm balance could be done many ways. You're going to try to challenge yourself with the transition to go pretty slow. So even if that means dropping the back knee and opening really slowly to the right, that's cool. If you want to try to hold your right knee or get a hold of your big toe with your first two fingers, you could do that. Left side plank, nice and slow. And then we're holding and breathing for 5, 4, 3, 2. If your right leg is up off the ground right now, I want you to try to keep it up off the ground and find your plank. This is kind of where we were before. Now you can keep that leg up as you pull yourself to your chaturanga or to the belly, and then reset both feet for your up dog or your cobra. And then we'll have just a short rest. Maybe you want to get a little sip of water, pet your dog or your cat, towel off if you've got a little sweat burning. Okay, we're going to start back in the kneeling position and then arranging ourselves for a kneeling side plank. Left shin and knee down, toes kicked off towards the back edge of your mat. First, we're just going to play with the top limbs. So you can reach your right leg up any amount, just abducting the hip and then stretching your top arm forward. Try to get as long as you can. Reset the right arm to vertical and then just tap the toes on the right leg. Keep your trunk and your shoulder on that left arm really stable, and let's do that again. It doesn't matter which limb is moving first. Maybe they want to move together. This is basically just an experimental lab. Can we move the limbs without affecting the trunk position? And then you are going to use your right foot now as part of your foundation. So go ahead and reset it to the floor. Right arm's going to be along for the ride. Your left arm, you're going to bend your elbow. If it helps you to move your arm away from you a little bit, you could do that. That might actually make it harder. And then you're going to try to push. And once you push off the left arm, then the side waist is also going to play. Let's do like 3 to 4 of those, pushing, finding a vertical spine, and then a slow teeter back with the trunk. At least one more. Find your glutes too. Make sure that pelvis is staying pretty neutral, if not even tucked slightly. And then you're going to find that open gate position. Right leg extended, left leg strong. Hands behind the head. Oh no, we got to do the side bend first. Let's do the side bend. Left arm can really reach from the ribs all the way through fingertips. Now we go hand behind the head. The first option would just be to find that teetering to the left with the core. Tailbone, it wants to reach back behind you. You kind of need to think of just dropping it straight down to the floor rather than under. Once you feel like you're really loading that side core and you're in a good position to play around a little more, keep that left glute engaged, and maybe that right leg lifts. I have a lot harder time on this side. Remember that left arm could come out if you need it for a kickstand. Can you stay open to the long side of your mat rather than rolling the chest towards the floor? Oofda. Let's try a couple more teeters. Okay. Pivot so that your hands are in tabletop. Left knee can stay down on the ground. Tuck your right toes and then hover your left leg into a 3-point plank. As you pike your hips, stretch your left leg higher into a splits and down dog. Step your left foot forward. Arrange your foundation for an open hip position, warrior 2. Your left thigh bone is rotating outward. This right leg, we want to try to get it open as much as possible for now. And then also we're trying to arrange this trunk so it's like a vertical cylinder rather than tipping forward. So think of a column. Shorten up your stance. Heel to your back foot in a little bit. This left leg, we're just going to keep it externally rotating. The whole time you're trying to turn your toes open to the left. And then you're going to bend the right knee a little bit and then catch some air as you push off that leg. Use it like a little shock absorber. When you land on the right foot, can you land on the ball of your foot or maybe just the big toe first? And then really push like a spring. Just play. Your arms can really do anything here. My shoulders are getting kind of tired. I'm just going to let them hang for a second. Let's try a few more of these little springing ins, this dynamic balance. Just teasing that half moon. And then once you're ready to find that half moon, you are going to kick with the right leg and still roll open around the left hip. Left hand could come down to your yoga block, or you could just stay hovering. I like to think of the spine here being level to the horizon without kind of dumping into my left hip. So if I'm feeling really deep in that left hip, I just bring my trunk out a little bit and then maybe re-lift the right leg. Let's go one more breath. Now rotate your body around your left hip so you're neutral. Start to fold your trunk over your left leg. Right leg's going to continue to reach high. Fingertips can land. Left hand could hold the leg. Both hands could hold the leg. Now right leg just an inch higher from the glutes. You can rebend your front knee to help with this transition. Step way back with your right toes. Runners, right hand, right shoulder are going to commit to holding your weight. As you rotate open on your right shoulder, you're finding your side plank version of your choice. Last 2 breaths, make them good ones. And for those of you who maybe have lifted the left leg, let's try to keep it up. And pivot around your right shoulder. Let's go plank on 3 points. Left leg's still gonna lift. And maybe you carry that through to your eccentric push-up. Everything can land. Find a little baby back bend or a full up dog. And then again, let's just reset. Maybe it's kneeling. Could be child's pose or puppy pose. And then I have one last fun little balancing stability challenge. Yoga block. If you don't have one, you could still do this without. It's basically the same thing. The yoga block just makes it a little more fun, a little more challenging. And you're gonna sit your bum on the block. Just like you're sitting on a curb for now. Neutralize the spine. You can really press through your feet for a moment. Your back is just in a casual, neutral position. And then let's keep the legs, I don't know, maybe hip width or so, just a comfortable distance. Hold on to the front of your shins or your knees, and then let's find a little spine flexion. So the pelvis might also tuck a little bit, that's totally fine, but that will also kind of affect the balance as we progress forward. So you'll have to kind of sort that out. You can't really balance on your sitting bones. You kind of have to be on the back side of them. Keep that flexion in the front core, and then see if you can make your toes really light, and maybe the toes lift and you just kind of find that balancing point on the pelvis or the bum. Keep what you have in the lower body, but think of pulling your heart forward and up. And then scoop and hollow the upper back, just like cat pose. Keep your pelvis in one position. And again, move the upper back only. One more time. Upper back curls. And then find either a little bit of flexion like we had before, or just neutral is fine. Now you're going to let go of the hands and try to just balance yourself on the block. And now we're just going to move the legs and the arms around, random patterns. Sometimes you can think of like the mixers or the beaters on a mixer and kind of swirl the legs around. Maybe the arms go overhead, maybe they go behind you. They can do something at the same time, or they can do a completely different movement. You're just going to try to find your balance. Add some twists in if you want. Remember, you can always touch down anytime you need to. Get out of your comfort zone for just a moment or two. Whoop. Had to use my hands for a second there. Oh, my hip flexors. Anybody else have tired hip flexors right now? All right, let's plant the feet. Hands are going to go behind you. You can turn fingers out, back or forward, whatever feels better on your shoulders. Now let's find that reverse tabletop again. Raise your hips off the block. Fire the bum. You're going to pin down through the right shoulder and arm. Really strengthen through your legs. As you lift your left arm, you're going to reach it around towards your right fingertips. You're getting upper body rotation. And then unravel that twist. Reset your left hand for foundation. Right arm's going to reach up and around. Right fingertips towards the left fingertips. If you want another set of that, you can have it. If you need a little rest, you can sit back down and you won't need your block anymore after that. At least not for this. Once you get yourself onto your seat, we're going to use the block or blocks for a supported forward fold. The legs could be stretched all the way out forward in front of you. You could find some sort of a butterfly or pyramid shape, or you could take the wide leg version. And you're just using the blocks for a little tripod of support, maybe for the forehead, maybe for the arms. Let your pelvis tip forward first, and after you max out that range of motion, then allow your spine to continue to travel in that same direction. Forward tip, upper back and round. Where's your breath? Okay, take your time coming up out of your fold. And then for the transition, you're just going to arrange yourself onto your right side. And let's have the right arm stretched out so that you could kind of lay your head or your ear on that right arm. Move your feet towards the long side of your mat and then bump your hips to the other long side of your mat. So your body is in a slight pike. Now your left leg, your top leg, we're going to kick that back. A nice straight leg reach from the hip. And then your left arm is going to reach in the opposite direction. So you're making this diagonal reach. Left leg back, right arm forward on a diagonal. And now when you're ready to exhale, you're going to try to bend that left knee and elbow and try to pull them towards each other as you press down through the bottom leg. Let's do a few of those. Extend and reach. And then a little side core, hip flexor, shoulder pull. Right leg is going to help with your stability if you keep rooting down, pressing through the ankle, the foot, the knee, the thigh, the hip. Last one, really reach, get a little longer. Great. And you could just flip over and do the same thing. Find that little bit of a pike position. From the hips to the toes. Kick right leg back from the glutes. Reach your right arm. Nice long diagonal line, and then a strong connection to the front body in the hip and the back body in the shoulder as you pull and tuck. How can your breath serve this? You like to exhale when you tuck, or do you like to exhale when you lengthen? Mix it up. Fully extending and then coiling in. Let's do one more. Press down with the left leg for stability. And then let's go to the back. Right leg is going to reach up, and you can hold the back of your thigh for this. As you extend your left leg down, don't let it land. Just kind of hover it off the ground so you're still working a little bit on that left side. And then you can walk your hands up a little higher on your leg as you curl your spine off the ground any amount. And then again, you can re-stretch, guiding the right leg closer if there's space. Having your right leg straight is going to be a different type of stretch. It'll be more focused on the whole length of your hamstrings. If you bend your knee, it's just a different load on the hamstrings. Let's curl up into a smaller package here. Pull both legs in. Keep your shoulders off the ground. Tip yourself to the left on the corner of your body. Squeeze your legs together. Try to bring your nose a little closer to your knees. Now balance on the right corner of your body in the cannonball. And then come back to neutral and just resolve neutral for a moment, letting the feet come back, letting the head rest. Arms can just rest to the sides too. Left leg goes vertical. Right leg finding that extended position but still being buoyant. Curl head and shoulders up. Find that front core as you contract into flexion. And then you can continue to work the left leg towards your nose and your nose towards your leg. Bend both knees. Squeeze your body nice and tight into that cannonball shape. Tip to the left. Find the corner. Try to hover on it. Through center to the right corner. And once you finish that off, you have a little bit of free time. Anything goes. Bridges, happy babies, twisty stuff. If you're doing a pose that has a second side, you can move on to that soon. And then let's work towards arranging for a final pose of rest. Final pose of rest could be in a seated or upright meditation pose. You could lay on your stomach, you could lay on your side. Of course, Shavasana is always a good choice. But it doesn't have to be the only choice. The point is to be content with where you are and effortless with where you are. Notice your breathing, just become a little bit more subdued and organic. Feeling that soft wave in and out. Simple, unrushed. Give yourself the gift of rest and recovery and stillness. I invite you to stay exactly as you are in terms of the position of things. And just notice the points of contact that are present right now between your skin and your clothes, or your body and the floor. Just feeling into some landmarks that are obvious to you. And feel your breath moving. Notice where it heads. Notice where you feel that expansion. And just kind of observe the quality of that breath, whether it's to just maintain it and continue to study it, or if there are some changes that would benefit you in this time, energetically speaking. That could mean a little more air coming in, or a little hold after the inhale or the exhale, or maybe it's just to slow things down on the exhale. And keep your eyes closed so you can see better on the inside. Start to let the body come back to life in the way that feels appropriate for now. Could be some subtle shifting in the shoulders or hips, or maybe starting even smaller than that with fingers and toes. If you're already in your seat, you might just kind of play around with shoulders and neck, or stretching the fingers and the wrists. Translating the ribs can feel pretty good in a seat. And if you're still on your back, take your time. You could transition to a side lying position for a little while. That can be good to kind of curl up into a little fetal pose, or you can rock and roll your way front to back to get up to your seat. I'm sorry, I ran just a few minutes late today. I wanted to be sure to give you a good rest. So I appreciate you hanging in there. And for those of you that are in the Facebook group, I will stop the video now, but you can pop in and leave a comment. And for those of you who are in Zoom, we usually leave just a few minutes after class to connect if you want to, but don't feel obligated. Thanks for being here. Namaste.